Oh, I just learned that I can put people in timeout for all you commenters out there. All right, so let me give it a minute here. Welcome to the live stream. If you're watching later, if you didn't watch the live stream on channel 1, Chiropractic Medicine, we had a nice 30-minute chat this morning. I really appreciate the live streams. It's fun. And it's way out of my comfort zone too, which is good. You know, I really hope that everyone has opportunities to go outside of their comfort zone and to play a little bit. So thank you and welcome. This is channel 3, Chiropractic Care and Education. And this is the education arm of my 501c3 nonprofit, Chiropractic Care and Education, which uses excess revenue to help people who can't afford chiropractic care get the care that they deserve and that they need. And I've had an amazing time taking care of people. Chiropractic Care and Education as a nonprofit, I would say, has been an adventure. There's lots of ups and downs. We can talk about that at another time. That's not the point of today's live chat. Today's live chat is coming off of the live chat that I just completed over at Chiropractic Medicine. And I left a little cliffhanger over there. And I really want to show you guys this. And I'm going to expand and extrapolate on what I'm about to show you today and this right here. Chiropractic and Functional MRI Imaging by Christopher Kent and Leonard Vernon. This is a book that I picked up from a library sale at Life University. I'm pretty sure that it was free. And it was just not, oh, wait, hold on, let me just check real quick. Maybe I didn't get this from there because it doesn't have the library thing in it where, you know, you see the card because they still had Dewey Decimal. I don't know where I got this book from, but it ended up in the pile of magic that I keep. I'm not even sure it got damaged. I'm not sure how it got damaged or where it got damaged, but it doesn't matter because I'm about to reveal some mind-blowing information that's never been revealed before on the internet. And so why would I keep this secret on my channel 3? You know what I mean? And it's because I'm gonna let it simmer, right? Where it's like when you cook something, you really want things to, you know, you mix all the ingredients together and you play with the heat, turn it up and then you turn it down. But like when you let things simmer, the amalgamation and the chemistry that occurs makes things taste better. And so what we're doing here on channel 3 is we're really letting the idea of chiropractic education simmer. And ideas are just going to grow and get better. And I've learned this format from other channels is that you can repeat content and bring it in different kinds of ways. And so everything in the beginning here that I'm doing for the first 5, or now 550 subscribers of this channel is not a rough draft. It's the first run. It's the raw dog. It's the here's the unfiltered version, but I'm going to continue to filter this down so that it becomes so precise that it has no choice but to go viral, because information like this really can't be suppressed forever. At this point in reality, with the technology the way that it is, you can't keep people from knowing what is rightfully theirs to know. And so that's what's happening with chiropractic as a profession right now. And people have been cracking people's backs for thousands of years, and there's a lot of misconceptions out there. And there's something really cool. Yeah, Adam, that's hilarious. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. And what I'm about to show you in this book has been fantastic. It's fantastic because one of the misconceptions about chiropractic, there's 2 things that people say all the time. Number one is that chiropractors make you come in all the time. Now, while it is true that there are chiropractic techniques that require more visits, than my technique, for example, I try to get people out of pain as quickly as possible. But getting out of pain is different than what chiropractic ultimately can do for people. And that's where the second misconception about chiropractic comes into play. And that's where people say that chiropractors will often say that they could fix anything. Chiropractors always say, this is good for your chiropractors can cure cancer. Chiropractors are good for your heart disease, right? So there's all this crazy stuff about chiropractors doing this thing where we say that chiropractic is good for everything. Now, that is a misconception. It's actually a misinformed approach to what chiropractic really is, because chiropractic, as I said in the first live stream this morning, The philosophy is to use the chiropractic adjustment to stimulate the nervous system, which is the most complex aggregate mass of matter on the planet, which controls everything in the body. Nothing happens in your body without neural control. That's actually not technically true, but most things in the body require the brain and the spinal cord to participate. And that's where the importance of functional MRI comes into play. So I'm just going to actually go into this one section and I'm going to read to you what, because this is a huge, awesome, amazing textbook. And first I'm going to break down this idea of functional MRI and what's actually happening here. Oh, here we go. Hold on. All right. Functional magnetic resonance imaging and vertebral subluxation. Vertebral subluxation is the industry term in chiropractic of what we say, like why we crack people's backs. And functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, is different than MRI. MRI is a static shot. You lay there being as still as possible, and then we get an idea of structure. Now, in functional magnetic resonance imaging, we do different things. There's movement involved. And the movement in an fMRI of the brain shows exactly how and where the brain is working, which is the coolest technology, isn't it? You get to see what's happening in the brain. All right, and that's and when you say see what's happening in the brain, we're talking about the action potential, which was a good name for the neurologist, I think, because everyone likes it when there's a potential for some action. And I think that the action potential is by far the most fascinating thing that I've ever studied in neurophysiology. This is how your brain works. Okay, it is a fluctuation of an electrical charge across the membrane of a cell. That's it. That's really how your brain works. There's no picture there's no screen in the back of your head. Like if we looked inside your brain right now, there's no like image that you see. There's no picture of me like upside down somewhere in your brain, like there's no things in your brain that are happening except for a fluctuation of an electrical charge across the membrane of a cell. That's what's happening. And it's the same kind of electricity that is in your walls. It's just the movement of hydrogen atoms going boop, 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 right down the stream. It's not a copper wire in your wall connected to a light switch. It is a neurological fiber in your brain connected to your pinky, connected to your pancreas, connected to your anything that starts with a... Yeah, okay, so functional magnetic resonance imaging and vertebral subluxation. Okay, ready? Unlike conventional MRI, which discloses only anatomy and pathology, functional magnetic resonance imaging is a non-invasive neuroimaging technique which demonstrates alterations in brain physiology. The technique relies on the relationship between neuronal synaptic activity, energy metabolism, and blood circulation. During neuronal stimulation, there is a subtle change in signal intensity, which is how the machine works. Signal intensity means the machine is working. And which is attributed to local changes in blood oxygenation and blood flow. Changes in the oxygenation state of hemoglobin are induced by task activation. So the brain becomes oxygenated. The brain is bringing in blood, which brings in oxygen, and more importantly, glucose. During task activation, which means during an fMRI, while they're measuring people's brains, they're looking at people's brains, and they'll be like, wiggle your feet, wiggle your toes, wiggle your hands, or whatever. Almost done here. Brain activation patterns have been recorded using visual, sensory motor, and auditory stimuli, as well as higher order cognitive processes. So what they're saying is they're looking at how the brain works when you move your hand, or when you hear a sound, or when you think of something philosophical. They're just measuring where in the brain you're burning glucose, right? They say, okay, what's 7 times 7? And your brain goes, bink, right here. And it means that that neuron right here, the gray matter, the vasodilation brought in blood, oxygen, and therefore glucose so that it could perform a metabolic activity, which means it's using energy, which means it's working. Okay, this is the brain working. It's so amazing. Okay. This is where it starts to, okay, so there's some deep, interesting concepts here. So we're going to do this. It has been suggested that chiropractic care may improve brain function. Stevens and Gorman proposed that spinal derangement, okay, when your spine's messed up, may adversely affect cerebral function. Tarrant notes that manipulation can result in increased cerebral blood flow, resulting in normal cerebral function. Gorman, there's three references here. This has been studied in 3 different scientific studies, has described alterations in visual function which resolved following manipulation and hypothesized that the favorable clinical response were due to increased blood flow to the retina and brain. So they showed that people's vision changed for the better after getting adjusted. Now remember, chiropractic in this country was founded when a deaf man was adjusted and regained his hearing. Okay, almost there, right? Almost there. I lost a lot of people with this reading. That's fine though. Okay, so last paragraph. Furthermore, chiropractic care has been associated with favorable changes in children with learning disorders and attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scientific references about children having favorable changes with learning disorders and attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. Yeah, that's the thing that we need to talk about, right? Other authors have reported an association between chiropractic adjustments and improved mental function. 2 more references there. Objective assessment of brain function using EEG spectral analysis was performed on 5 children, and analysis revealed more normalized brain waves after chiropractic adjustments. Wow. EEG was changed after chiropractic adjustment. Why don't they do that more? Money. I'll tell you what, because there are no corporate pharmaceutical sponsors for chiropractic studies. There just aren't. Now, functional magnetic resonance imaging may be a useful technology for studying the effects of chiropractic adjustment on brain function, a case study example. So, let me now show you guys this most unbelievable thing that's happening in this textbook. Okay, so this side over here, we're going to concentrate right here on this imaging. So this is a picture of a brain, and that brain is being told to wiggle their ankle. They're saying rotate your ankle. And you can see how much color there is in that brain imaging. You can see how much the brain is lighting up. That's the brain burning glucose. That's the brain using energy. That's the brain neurons firing, bringing in oxygen, bringing in glucose, performing metabolic activity in the mitochondria so that it can produce adenosine triphosphate in order to rotate the ankle. That's all that's happening in the brain right there. Rotate the ankle, sir. And then that's what happens inside the brain. Look at all those places. Look at all those places that are lighting up. Bing, bang, boom. It's everywhere. That's what's happening. Then the person gets adjusted, and after they are adjusted, they are told. They don't just get adjusted because they have to bring them out of the functional MRI. They bring them out of the functional MRI. They adjust the spine, and then they put them back in the adjustment into the fMRI machine, and they say, wiggle your toe, rotate your ankle, and then voila. You can see the clarity that occurs in the central nervous system. This is your brain. The thing that does everything that you do, right there. See it working more efficiently? There isn't scatteredness inside the brain. The brain doesn't need 20 different centers in order to rotate your ankle. It only needs 1. I mean, it goes through multiple different processes, but the end result should only be in 1 place. Now, you can see how I can get excited about something like this because there's this huge misunderstanding about chiropractors who are trying to teach people the effectiveness of chiropractic and why we want people to get adjusted more regularly, because the world would be a much better place if every man, woman, and child were getting adjusted. That's just the way that it is. It's true. Now, is that reality? Is that going to happen? Of course it's not. People don't need to get adjusted if you're still smoking cigarettes. You know what I mean? Unless, you just have neck pain. But I wouldn't want someone to have wellness chiropractic care if they were, living an unhealthy life. I would want people to live a healthy life way first before you get chiropractic adjustments. But it's clear, the evidence is clear, is that there is a huge potential for chiropractic to normalize the central nervous system. That's just the way that it is. Chiropractic makes your brain work more efficiently, as proven by what the things that I just showed you. Now, the reason why that happens is fascinating, okay? Let's just say it was a wrist turn, okay? All right, so in order for me to do this and turn my wrist, the nerves have to go down through my arm into my spinal cord and then into my brain, and goes to the cerebellum and then the motor cortex and that kind of thing. The motor cortex, which is where all motion is regulated. That's not the word that they use in neurology. Modulated. That's not the word either. Hold on, I can't think. Doesn't matter. So what happens is in that ankle task, and what we just saw on that functional MRI, is that when the person's moving their ankle around, okay? Now, in order for that nerve to get to the spine, it has to go through several iterations of branching, okay? Just like a river, just like a tree, right? And so when the body has asymmetrical loading, okay, you guys know I'm always looking for symmetry. When the body has asymmetrical loading, the signals from both different sides of the body, so you have a high shoulder, right? High shoulder, low shoulder, right? Like this. Now, the body is constantly taking inventory on its proprioceptive input. So when you have a high shoulder and a left shoulder, there's a constant stream of information going from those shoulder nerves, from the joints, from the actual ligaments is where the nerves are, from the ligaments into the nerve, and it's bringing information of joint position. This is data. Your brain is constantly tracking data. Right? It's a constant state of aliveness and awareness. This stream of life is just like the stream on the internet. It's absolutely happening all the time with multiple inputs all the time. So anyway, so you have high shoulder, left shoulder. That data is constantly being streamed into the central nervous system. It goes into the spinal cord. It goes into lamina 7, I believe is what that is where where proprioceptive input is regulated and processed, and then it has to go to the brain. So when you have asymmetrical information at a constant stream, it creates something called sympathetic atonia. This is a constant state of sympathetic activation, right? The sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight nervous system. Okay, that's cool. Adam, I like that too. Yeah, people do say they see better. Yeah, isn't that cool? This is why. And so when you have that asymmetrical information, it bombards the nervous system. They call it aberrant, meaning sporadic. No. Aberrant really means discombobulated. It means it's not streaming in a continuous flow. It's jungled up, right? So you have aberrant, afferent information, and afferent means it's moving towards its sensory information moving towards the brain. And so when you have aberrant, afferent information bombarding the nervous system and the spinal cord, it activates the sympathetic fight or flight nervous system, and sympathetic is the shutdown of blood vessels. So when you have this information at the level of the spinal cord, now, when it's traveling up the brain, it becomes fragmented or sprayed. And so when you're looking at that pre-adjustment MRI of the brain where the brain was all lit up, you're looking at one signal, the ankle is turning, and it's going through branches, and those branches are being bombarded with asymmetrical information throughout the entire spine. And so that means if you have an uneven shoulder and you're trying to wiggle your ankle, as the signal travels up your spinal cord, it picks up the fray, it picks up the discombobulation from the shoulder because it passes through the same nerves. It's all the same nerves up the track, not the same nerves, but the tracks are all next to each other in the spinal cord coming up to your brain. And then by the time it gets to the brain, it goes whoosh, and it gets sprayed out. And that's why all those different activations were seen in that pre-adjustment MRI. And the brain was trying to burn glucose in all these different centers in order to process the simple information of having the ankle turn. Then they pull the person out of the machine and they clear them of all the afferent information, all of the asymmetries. They clear the asymmetries with the chiropractic care. They put them back in the fMRI, and then they say, wiggle your ankle. And then what happens? Only the one center in the brain, in the prefrontal motor cortex, only the one center in the brain is activated, which is the only center that's supposed to be activated when you're moving your ankle. That's it. Your brain works better after you get adjusted by a chiropractor. Well, your brain works better after you stretch and do all those other things too, but we're talking about something that only chiropractic adjustments can achieve. Can you achieve it through stretching and yoga? I think that you could probably get pretty close, but it takes an hour every day in order to do what a chiropractor can do in 15 to 25 minutes. So the idea here is, for all the misunderstandings of chiropractic and chiropractors saying that you should get adjusted regularly, and for the misunderstandings of chiropractors who say that we don't really adjust pain, we really just adjust you to normalize your nervous system, because your nervous system controls everything. That is the deeper, ultimate truth and reality of chiropractic. Chiropractic is effective for pain relief. It is. But I mean, it's a 10. You don't get me wrong. It's a 10. It's non-invasive. It's incredibly safe, incredibly effective. PT takes so much longer time. But the end goal and the final realization and the ultimate assumption of chiropractic adjustments is that it makes your nervous system, your brain and your spinal cord, work more efficiently. And when your brain and your spinal cord are working more efficiently, every single cell, every single organ, and every function in your entire body also works more efficiently. That's it. It makes you a better human. It's fantastic. All right, that's it. Chiropractic functional MRI. I'm definitely going to make a short out of this. We're going to have to get those studies out, and I'm going to have to get this within underneath a minute. But thank you very much. I'll hang out here for another minute. I have 5 more minutes. And let's see, you were watching one of my videos the other day, and you mentioned something about being present in the moment during the back drumming. What does that mean to you? Nutty, that's a great question. Thanks for that. Being present during the moment means everything to everybody all the time. Being present in the moment is the only time you're truly alive. It's the only time your life is truly unfolding, is in the now, right? There's many, many books written about this, especially in the last 20 years. The power of now is something that I hear a lot of. I think Eckhart Tolle wrote that book. I've never read any Eckhart Tolle books, but people have said to me multiple times over the years, you sound like Eckhart Tolle, right? Well, it's because Eckhart Tolle and I both had the same teachers. We're both reading the same people who have been saying, not the same people, but groups of people, traditions, thousands of years old. Okay, Nutty? So when I'm saying to be present in the moment, I'm saying that if you're not stuck in the past and stuck in the future, if you're not stuck in the future of your to-do lists, that's where your anxiousness lives. It's like your worry lives there. And if you're not stuck in the past and your shoulda, woulda, couldas and your regrets, then you're right now. And right now is technology, is what it is consciousness. Right now is the formation of billions of years of evolution and growth, and a very distinct process that is the same energy and the same forces that twirl galaxies and assimilate solar systems and put us into degrees, very finite degrees of life that created over billions of years of processes allow us to do this. Hey, how you doing? What's up? My name's Brent. What's your name? That's what evolution, planetary evolution, is here for. This is not an accident. Okay, this is what I mean by being present in the moment, Nutty. What I mean is that when you're present in the moment, that's the time that you are truly able to access your ability to play with the technology that we are given in the consciousness field. And let me make it more simple than that, right? And more simple even than saying being in the now is the only time that you're able to live. What I'm saying about being in the now is that that's how you distinguish your intention and your actions from your hopes and your desires, right? Hopes and desires they just live inside of you, and you're just, oh, maybe, you know what I mean? But being present in the moment actualizes your intentions and creates action. Oh yeah, this is what I want. I'm gonna go do it. Right? And so I'm not talking about magically manifesting things. I'm talking about creating a reality and creating a life that is worthy of your 4 billion years of evolution. That's what I mean, Nutty. Okay, trumpeter, let me get you on your question. How is it that you do chiropractic medicine and your brother went the whiskey business playing golf all the time? That's a good question, trumpeter. Okay, so, because everyone's different. Everyone is on their own path and their own journey. I have to say that I'm probably the outlier in the family. My last name Binder means barrel maker. So I come from a long line of people who were filling kegs. And my family, my father's family, has owned several bars, lots of bartending, lots of serving in my family history. And I did those things too. It's great. It's really, I mean, alcohol is medicine. So one thing I would say, trumpeter, is that, my brother is very esoterically oriented. He knows, you know what I mean? He knows. And he comes from it, and he comes to it with a much more like an innocent sense of amazement, and which is perfect. That's what the world needs. It's the same thing. Because I studied science, I have just been trying to find the real answers to things always. So for me, I always wanted to be a doctor. And my brother was always really good at being in that industry. I was not always good at being in that industry. And so for my brother, it was profitable to stay in restaurant and alcohol. And he evolved, right? And he went from just bartender to being like a sought after menu designer, and I forget what they call it, like a mixologist or something like that. And he's just good at it. So, he makes whiskey and I crack backs, but we actually both play golf. He's much better than I. He was a professional golfer for a little bit. He revoked his amateur status and played professional golf, but lived in Florida. And so that's how we're different. That's a good question. In-depth interviews. If you have more of those. Okay, Rio, thanks for that. And trumpeter, you're welcome. You want to know more about alcohol as medicine? Well, first of all, it's social medicine. Alcohol takes people out of a fight or flight and then puts them in a relaxed state, and that's more parasympathetic. And so it's social medicine because it makes people procreate. It's just it. Drunk people have sex, and sex makes babies. Excuse me. And we need to make more of ourselves. It's just the way that it is. It's true. We just have to make more of ourselves, and alcohol helps that happen. So it's. I mean, it would happen anyway without alcohol, but I think it happens more with alcohol, and it's a good thing because I have to say I would agree with Elon Musk that we're much more in danger of population collapse than population overpopulation. Another thing about alcohol being medicine is it's hard alcohol is sterile, and it's really hard for parasites to live in and bacteria to live in the presence of alcohol. And so it was grandma's cough syrup, they used to call it, a little bit of whiskey. I've never read anything scientific about that particularly, but I can see physiologically how that's true, how hard, strong alcohol, you have to probably, as strong, 150 proof, it's something like that. and like moonshine days, how that could be sterilizing, just like an antibiotic. And I'm not sure what bacteria would respond to that or what funguses would respond to that because I've never really looked into it. But I think that I could at least speculate the truth there. Now, also, alcohol is medicine because of fermentation. They have shown that that very modest drinking of wine can be good for your heart. And wine contains resveratrol, which is good for your immune system. And there's other ways to get resveratrol. You don't have to drink wine, but it's still true that it's medicinal. Now, is mixing vodka with sugar products like Coke, is that going to be medicinal? No, absolutely not. But drinking a fermented drink like a beer or wine with a meal could possibly aid in digestion. So there you go. That's what I think. Those are the answers. Okay, Adam, what you got here? Agree with you from earlier. Organic Chem 1 and 2, pretty challenging, but cellular and microbiome kicked your butt. Adam, I hear you. That's, everyone has their thing of what they're just, you have a thing that you're good at. And it's just the way that it is. It's like my oldest child is great at speaking Spanish. Like, where'd that come from? It's just, she has language skills, right? And but just like me, math is terrible. It's not terrible, but like my dad could do algebra forward and backwards. Like, it's just, he would just really he could speak the language of math, but he couldn't speak any other languages. And, some people are good at manual skill sets. They get really good at construction and like my uncle, he's like an artist, the way that he could like build things. You know what I mean? And building things is a great art. So yeah. So what did you say? Oh yeah, cellular and molecular bio. I have to say, Adam, those were like cellular bio and molecular bio. Like, I didn't even have to study for those tests. I would just read it once and I would be like, got it. You know what I mean? Like, it just went in so easily. But I struggled in college algebra. I did. I did. I struggled in college algebra for sure. All right, Trumpeter, what do you got here? Always loved your older Pulse videos where you basically could read the body so perfectly. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I really do. It was a beautiful thing to practice pulse reading with those videos, and I still use the pulse, and I use it in my practice, and sometimes people come in and they want a pulse reading. And I had one recently with a young guy who came in from Philly. This guy's awesome. I'm not going to say his name, but we're going to do a video. And he's just great. He's a great guy. And he's doing a lot of awesome things in the world. And if he ever sees this, he'll know I'm talking about him because he just had a kid. And I saw him right after he had a kid. And he's like, I'm like, we finished up. I cracked everything. He's good. And he's like, and I'm like, is there anything else I can do for you? And he's like, yeah, can you do a pulse reading for me? Dude, and sometimes when I do pulse readings, it even surprises myself. And it's such an amazing, incredible technology that I've evolved with. And it was an honor to show people, to let people watch me practice. Even though I've come under some scrutiny because of it, it's okay, because what are you going to do? Just not do things because people don't get it? No, I can't. And I'll bring more back. I will, Trumpeter 89. I'll definitely have more pulse readings in the future. And I missed one too. I recently put that video out there. I forget what her name was right now, but she had on a black shirt with a white, and she was Asian. I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but she had things going on, and I leaned over the table to do a pulse reading on her other side, and it was bad form. It just was bad form. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be in the correct posture when you do that. And I leaned over and I totally missed it. And when she comes back, we'll make this video. And so I did the whole thing. You guys have seen me do interview after interview where I'm like, do you have anything else to tell me? And people are like, no, that's it. And then like later on, I'm doing stuff and I'm like, what about this? And they're like, oh yeah, that's right. I was impaled by a garbage truck or whatever. They just say the most ridiculous, outlandish things way after the fact that we've already done the interview. I've already done an exam. And I'm just right there in the middle of a session and I reveal this information. And they're like, oh yeah. And so anyway, I went through the whole session with that young woman, and then it was after the session, after the camera's off, and she was like, "Oh yeah, by the way," and she told me all this crazy stuff that happened that I would have read on the side of her pulse if I was on the right side of the table. So I included that. I don't mind including things when I fail. I don't mind including things when I miss. I want to make no mistake about it. I am hashtag not Jesus. But chiropractic is extremely effective, and chiropractic is more effective when you have someone who's good at it and efficient. And I am extremely proud, honored, and humbled to say that I'm really good at what I do. And it's been so cool to do it on YouTube. I can't even. It's just the coolest thing ever. So, yeah, trumpet alert. Let's do it, man. That's one thing I want done more than the ring dare. The one thing you want, see, that's the coolest thing ever, right? Well, it's unique. There's really no one else doing it. I don't know if there's any acupuncturists who are doing it on YouTube. I'm sure I'm not the only person who has done a pulse reading on YouTube, for sure. There is, however, only one other person on YouTube who has ever made a video about Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine pulse readings together and the comparison and contrast between the two, which is pretty cool. And then, I did see another chiropractor one time, just one video. He just randomly took someone's pulse, and I was like, where did that come from? I think he just did it because it was on my channel, which is, it's flattering. It really is, to see people do the things that I do and not give me credit for it. I don't want the credit for it. I want people to be better at chiropractic. I want chiropractors to be better. People shouldn't have to drive hundreds of miles to my practice. That's just it. You shouldn't have to get on an airplane to get a good chiropractic adjustment. That's stupid. There's too many chiropractic schools and there's too many chiropractors in the world for people to be chasing down some super magical thing that really should be common. My practice is different. My practice is the only practice in the world that you can get a ring dinger. I can't call it that anymore, unfortunately, but I do rapid decompressions, and my practice is the only one that you can get a rapid decompression and a side posture and a pulse reading, and it's unbelievable. So you're welcome, Adam, and you're welcome, everybody else. I am going to keep doing what I'm doing. I really appreciate all of these things in here. Any more reading videos coming? Haven't seen them in a while. Cheers from Norway. Oh, reading videos. Okay, you're talking about, yeah. Okay, that's cool. All right, more requests for pulse readings. Yeah. So one thing that happens is that I've done more follow-up videos. People like yesterday's video I did with Jenny Marie. Like, that's a follow-up video, and so I don't need to do a pulse reading for someone with a follow-up. And also too, the practice of pulse reading for me has really changed into, it's not changed, but it evolved. And I really only have used the one layer that reads the energy system, which is where the reading comes from anyway. All of the really magical reads that's not true. I've done a lot of basic readings that were great too. But the first one ever, when I pulled the urinary tract infection off of the base reading, like, that was important. That was the demonstration that showed that it worked, to me and to anyone. I just happen to have a camera rolling, is basically what I keep saying, is because I practiced that technique in silence and in private for at least 2 years before I told anyone what I was doing or dared to even put it on camera. Because it takes a lifetime to develop this skill to read people's pulses. It's a lifetime achievement skill. And so even doing it for 10 years, I barely scratched the surface. But I'll keep doing it because I know that people like it, and I'll do it because it makes people angry. And that kind of volatility is important. You know what I mean? If people look at it and they just like, oh, I can't believe it. What did blah, 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 whatever they want to say about it. You know what I mean? That kind of spike in energy of consciousness is important. It means you're doing something right. It's like Tom Eberline. Oh, interesting that they just brought him up too. Here's the weird synchronicity that I'll use to wrap all this up. Tom Eberline was, I think, the most academically intelligent man I've ever met in my entire life. He was my my mentor and boss at Penn State University. He was the chair of the science program. There was not a piece of physics, chemistry, or biology that he didn't know. He was a chemistry teacher, but he knew everything about biology. Yesterday, I wake up. Oh, he's been deceased for at least 5 years now. Yesterday, I woke up and I got a message from Telegram, and it said, Tom Eberline has joined Telegram. And I was like, that's crazy because he died 5 years ago. Now, obviously, you know, his phone number got ported and someone else had his phone number and then they joined Telegram. So, but still, that's, even though that's the obvious thing that happened, to me, it's still important that, that it did happen, because it was like the universe was just bringing Tom into my consciousness just to think about him and just to honor him, and then just to, is just to come into it right here. And anyway, to tie it all in together with Tom, is Tom used to tell me, if you're not, regarding my class and my students, because I pissed off a bunch of students one day, whatever I was saying or whatever, and they were like, we're complaining, and oh, he's gonna get fired, right? And I go to Tom, and I was like, yeah, I was like, oh, Tom, these students, I was like, they're really pissed. He's like, Brent, if you're not pissing people off, then you're not doing your job. I was like, done. Here we go. Ready? Let's have fun. So 10 years later, I was still teaching and having a great time doing it too. All right. Peace out, my friends. Thank you all very much. All of this I do for you. Every video I make, every time I'm editing, I'm thinking about how can people learn? How can people benefit? I don't want people to buy things. I don't want people to sign up for things. I just want people to watch videos. And if they help you relax, and if I'm helping people achieve a state of calmness in their nervous system by making quiet chiropractic videos, that in itself is enough for me. So thank you very much for watching all those videos on Chiropractic Medicine Channel 1. And for the people who really like chiropractic as you're really into the mechanics of it and the practice, that's why I have Channel 2, Pain Relief Chiropractic Care, Dr. Brent Binder. And this is Chiropractic Care and Education, the education arm of my chiropractic nonprofit. And I'm here to educate people about chiropractic. And I've got a lot of great ideas, like, how do you find a good chiropractor? How do you know if you're at a good chiropractic office? Like, I don't just want to show you guys the MRI and talk about the science of chiropractic. I need to make it a little bit, excuse me, I need to make it a lot of it actually relative for you. That's why we're here. That's what we're doing. So thank you very much. You guys are the best. I really appreciate it. And that's it. We're out of here.